St. Dominic's Comprehensive College stood just beyond the rusting gates of a quiet town, tucked behind thick thickets of mango trees and aging utility poles. It was a school that once echoed with laughter, morning anthems, and the rhythmic beat of marching feet. But something had changed. Beneath the chalky walls and dusty corridors, something dark and restless began to stir. It started the day they buried Teacher Cynthia. No one talked much about her anymore. Some said it was better to forget. Others, mostly the elders, said that when a soul is wronged and justice denied, it lingers. And when that soul belongs to someone with unfinished business, a teacher who lived by discipline and died by betrayal, it never leaves the place it last called home. Cynthia Duru was no ordinary teacher. She was elegant, sharp, and held her students to high standards. Her presence in the classroom was magnetic. Every sentence she spoke carried weight. Every glance silenced even the most stubborn student. She was tall and curvy, always dressed in well-pressed skirts that danced just below her knees, and wore her hair in tight, disciplined bands. She taught English and literature with the intensity of someone who believed in shaping destinies. Her pupils feared her, but many secretly admired her. Some said she was too proud, too demanding. Others said she was a rare gem in a sea of mediocrity. SSS 3A was her domain, her battlefield and her sanctuary, and in that room, under the aging ceiling fan that wobbled like a drunk moth, her voice rang out like thunder, clear, uncompromising, and always in control. But one student couldn't be controlled. Pascal Ize. Pascal was trouble wrapped in the skin of a teenage boy. He was tall, with a permanent smirk on his lips and a darkness in his eyes that made even other students uneasy. Rumors followed him like shadows. It was said he had friends in secret places, boys with rings and rituals, boys who met in the forest behind the old chapel. Pascal clashed with Teacher Cynthia from day one. She corrected his grammar. He rolled his eyes. She seized his phone. He spat on her car, and when she caught him cheating on the mock exam, the line was crossed. She tore his answer sheet in half in front of the entire class. "You will never manipulate truth in my presence," she said calmly, voice like cold iron. "You have failed, and your arrogance will follow you into ruin." Pascal didn't say a word. He just stared at her. But when he left the classroom, he left with eyes that promised violence. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. The morning after the confrontation, Teacher Cynthia didn't show up for assembly. It wasn't like her to miss a class, let alone a whole school day. By noon, whispers spread like wildfire. Her car was still in the parking lot. Her house door was ajar. When the principal sent 2 female teachers and the security guard to check, they found her. She was lying near the back of the staff quarters, behind the mango tree, her lifeless body soaked in blood. Her throat had been slit, her hands were clenched, nails broken, as if she'd fought hard against her killer. The wound across her stomach was deep, deliberate and brutal. Her red lipstick was smeared. The school went silent for weeks. Pascal had vanished. Some said he boarded a night bus and disappeared across state borders. Others claimed he went into hiding with the secret society he was rumored to belong to. The police came. Investigations were started, but nothing came of it. No arrest, no charges, no answers. Just silence. And a growing fear. It began subtly. Weeks after the school reopened, students in SSS 3A began to notice odd things. A cold breeze swept through the room, even with all windows closed. Chalk would roll off the board tray on its own. The teacher's chair would creak, just once during periods of absolute silence. The new English teacher, Miss Amara, was young and enthusiastic. She loved poetry and often quoted Maya Angelou. But within her first month, her energy waned. She would walk into class and find her lesson notes soaked in red ink, even though she kept them in her locked desk. One afternoon, while teaching things fall apart, she turned to write on the board and screamed. The chalk in her hand began to write on its own, in jagged, frantic letters. Failed to seek justice is a crime. Miss Amara resigned 2 days later. The school called it burnout, but the students knew better. Daniel Okeke was a top student, serious, ambitious, and logical. He had dreams of studying law abroad. He never believed in ghosts. He scoffed when his classmates talked about Teacher Cynthia, until he saw her. It happened during evening prep. He was alone in the classroom, revising his literature notes. The sun had dipped below the tree line. The room was dim, silent. He looked up and saw her, standing by the blackboard, pale, bloody, her eyes hollow and lips parted. She didn't move. She just stared. Then, without a word, she vanished. After that day, Daniel changed. He started speaking in old-fashioned English. He called his classmates pupils and began wearing a red scarf, just like Cynthia used to. He began dreaming of her death. In those dreams, he stood at the edge of the staff quarters, unable to move, as Pascal raised the knife again and again.
He heard Cynthia's voice cry out, not for mercy but for justice, though Daniel began carving words into his desk with the compass. She will not sleep until truth is served. The principal, desperate to end the rumors, decided to renovate the classrooms. The workers were tasked with repainting and replacing old desks, though during the process, a carpenter discovered a hidden drawer beneath the floorboards of the teacher's dais in SS3A.
Inside was a red leather pound diary. It belonged to Teacher Cynthia. The entries were precise and dated right until the day before her death. Pascal threatened me again today. He said he knows people in high places. He wants me to change his exam scores. I won't. I'm not afraid of him. I've reported him twice. If anything happens to me, this diary is my witness. The final page had one word scrawled across it, twice. Justice. The diary was turned over to the police. News traveled fast. Within days, investigators reopened the case. Digital forensics traced Pascal's movements. He had changed his name, forged new credentials, and was now living in another town under a different identity. He was arrested without resistance. Under interrogation, he confessed. He said she embarrassed him in front of everyone. He said it wasn't personal. The court found him guilty of murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. That night, after the verdict was read, something strange happened in SSS 3A. The old bell, which hadn't rung in years, tolled once at exactly midnight. The janitor, who lived near the back fence, said he saw a figure in white walking past the classrooms, tall, graceful, and glowing faintly in the dark. The next morning, the board in SSS 3A had a new message written in red chalk. You listened. Thank you. Daniel returned to normal. He remembered nothing of the possession, nothing of the diary, nothing of the dreams. But every year, on September 24th, the students of St. Dominic's gather in front of the locked door of SSS 3A. They light candles and leave flowers on the windowsill. They do not speak her name loudly. They do not mock the dead, and no one ever sits in the teacher's chair again. Some ghosts return for vengeance, others return for truth. But Teacher Cynthia returned to teach one final lesson. Justice delayed is never justice denied.